most thought-provoking hour of the day, dropping jewels and nuggets for the next 60 minutes. For us, by us. You're listening to the Hold Your Point podcast.
What up? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever we're catching you at on this pleasant Tuesday. Peace to the planet. This is the Hold Your Point podcast, and we are the Hold Your Point podcast crew. The usual suspects, as you know it, man. My name is Fortunato. We got Levi Strauss in the building. Michael Joseph, DTH, DJ, Daryl James. What's going on, fellas, man? How this Tuesday, how this week going? How this month going?
What up? Hey, taxing week, man. But I'm sure that the same story is true for everybody. But you know, y'all know me, man. A glass half full type of brother. You feel me? So yeah, man. The week was taxing, but man, so many blessings still, bro.
Yeah, man. Pretty much the same old. You know, work. You know, got it going on, and looking forward to a couple holidays coming up, a couple vacations. So we'll see how that go. But other than that, happy to chop it up with y'all. We got a good episode, but markets not looking nice, but it's all right. We'll bounce back.
Hey, it's looking nice to me, man. It's buying opportunities, bro.
That's true. I hear you saying.
With crypto,
So how you look at it? Half full guy. Huh?
I don't want to hear nothing more about no crypto, man. What a joke.
Man, you fall into the trap. Anyway,
listen, man, we can't be throwing out financial advice on here like that.
That's
man.
right.
What's going on, everybody, man? It's your boy Michael Joseph. Another week, man. Thank God. Good to see you guys, as always.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
Good to see you, bro.
Yeah, man.
What's good with me? Nothing much, man. Same old for the most part. Been trying to get up a little earlier these days, man. I realize you get a whole lot more done when you get up before the sun.
New Year's resolution.
So yeah, man. It's like today, I got so much done between today and yesterday. I was like, wow, this is really good. It's like, oh, I don't need as much sleep as I thought I did. So,
What time you got up, DTH?
I got up at 5. That's early for me.
Oh, okay.
If anybody waking up earlier than that,
hey, that's what I got crazy. Say, oh, okay. Nigga still.
I woke up at 5.
That's pretty early.
5 a.m. So
5 is decent. What time you plan on going to bed? Get that full 8 hours.
Oh no, you get up at 5. No. You sleep at 9, 10.
9.
Well, that's not when I went to sleep last night. I went to sleep about 11.
I could probably do 6 hours.
Which is not too bad.
I'm gonna be honest. I wish I made it to bed at 9, but look.
Yeah, no, I can't. It's too early. But yeah, man. Other than that, I'm gonna be taking a little trip soon north, and then coming back down next week. So.
Trip north. Okay.
Yeah,
all these mysterious trips all of a sudden.
What's all these trips? What you talking about? Yeah. Ain't no all these trips. Just one trip.
Fortunato look like he got a little tear in there. You know, then you come back from
man. I just, wifey birthday was this weekend, man. So we got lost for a couple of days, and she just wanted to do more like just fun stuff. You know me, like I tell everybody, like, I'm good with a balcony, a view of the ocean, and just leave me alone. I don't need nothing else. But, she want to do all this stuff, so I'm the old man kind of behind. But it was cool, though. We had slid by Andretti. Matter of fact, I didn't even realize the Andretti Park was right behind the Top Golf place where we took the picture with them slingshots. I was like, oh, we was right behind him. So, yeah.
It's all that right area, yeah.
Yeah, we did the little adult racing, man. My lap time was not the greatest. Like, I was a little ashamed of my lap time, but
dead last.
Nah. My wife was last, and I was second to last. But it was
hey, at least you beat her, dog. Can you imagine a drive home if you ain't beat your wife?
Hey man, them things a little harder to drive than it looks. It's not like them go-karts back in the day.
And they be fixing them things too. Them things seem like it won't be going right. I ain't gonna lie, I've been on it before.
You just gotta
it's
know how to
like
take the turns.
the go-karts back in the day that you smell gasoline from and the whole engine running. Those was the ones. But these now, it's like, they kind of like control the speeds.
Mhm.
But it was cool though. It was something different. I ain't never been there before. The one thing I say, like, I ain't realized like how packed it was, and like, that you was literally gonna have to probably be kicking and pushing kids out the way to try to get to what you want, because it's all mixed in. And it's like, dog, they don't take no breaks. Like, damn, can I get on something in this? But yeah, it was cool, man. No complaints. But all right, man. So we gonna type right into it, man. We finna round off RVS III, religion versus spirituality. I think we've been having like a good cadence, good dialogue and discussion over like the last couple pieces. And I think it's been rather effective. So we're gonna touch on just a few more aspects of it today. Religion versus spirituality. And first thing I wanted to jump right into, well, first of all, I think I kind of jumped ahead of myself. But, as y'all know, this podcast, we talk about Black culture and experience from a Christian and millennial perspective. And so, everything we talk about has thought-provoking jewels to it, man. But I wanted to jump right into it, man, and ask y'all on the notion or the topic of spirituality. How do you strengthen yourself, first of all, spiritually? How do y'all go about that? What's y'all routine,
short
cadence,
answer,
or whatever?
I mean, I think the short answer for that is faith. You gotta have faith. Once you, because at the end of the day, how I personally strengthen myself is I remember where I've been and where I'm at now, and how, you know what I'm saying, God has been there for me and done the things He's done. So to me, if I would have just had faith in the beginning, it would have been a lot easier. So to me, that shows me how that, look, He ain't done with me. So at the end of the day, things just keep getting better for me. So that's my opinion. That's my short answer.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's a good question. The way how I see it as a little I kind of relate it to like a physical aspect just a little bit in this sense is just that if you want your body to grow, if you want muscles to grow, if you just as a child just to grow as you start to grow in general, you have to eat. That's really one of the main components of growing as a human being is you have to eat. You have to eat food. You have to, consume calories, whatever, blah, 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 however that goes. Anybody who's been into weightlifting or anything like that. And I kind of relate it to the same thing as the spirit. If you want your spirit to grow, you got to feed it. You got to give it food. You got to give it stuff to eat. You got to give your spirit, thing, and obviously not physical food because you can't feed it. You got to feed it with spiritual aspects. You gotta be able to tap into that spiritual mindset pretty often, daily. What happens if you don't eat for a day? You don't feel good, right? So it's like I go to that. So
True.
Yeah. Go ahead, DGH.
So I was thinking, I think it's important for people, well, for Christians really, to really get closer to God and really learn about Him. Because I think, and I'll even speak for myself, born and raised in the church, it's just a habit to do certain things, but that's not really the same as knowing Christ for real. So, because there's people who go to church and same situation as me, born and raised in the church. Yeah, you go through the motions, exactly. So, but if you don't really have a connection with them, then you're not really going to hold to it. And I think the reason why people don't hold to it is because they don't really know Him like that. They don't, they just know there's a God, but they don't know about His nature. They don't know about His goodness, really. Like, they don't take the time to look into that. And I think that comes from reading His Word, because He reveals Himself to us most plainly in His Word. He can obviously, give you a revelation or a vision or something. He has that power, but more often than not, He's given us His Word, and that's what we're gonna get that information and get closer to him. So I really think getting in the word, that's big.
Yeah, I mean, all that what them brothers said, or these brothers here said, is important and is needed. But I kind of look at it like, I guess I might ask a question to the question. Um, I, I'm I'm wondering why, as far as spiritual is, spiritual people is concerned, like why don't we perform some of the miracles, like or have some kind of the strength like the brothers had back in the Bible days? Um,
That's a good question.
because there's a Fortunato look got a little face because there's a video circling around with this brother, and he's believed to be Aboriginal, right? And the Aboriginals is believed also to be here before some of the African people. That's what they say, right? And if y'all could probably just YouTube it, just say guy moving water, and he's actually, it looks like he's moving water. And also another something else that I notice is when somebody's doing these, I guess, these miraculous, um, whatever it is that they doing, it's always in a different tongue. It's never in the English language. So I just find it very interesting, like how some of these people can do these um,
Rituals.
just move, yeah, just moving water and just doing things that's crazy like that. I mean, I, I I'm just wondering, like, why aren't we doing that, right? If we're tapped into God, and we're fasting, and we're praying, and why aren't we able to do the things that our forefathers perhaps able to do? So hopefully I'm making sense with what I said.
Not
Yeah,
real quick before
well,
Fortunato. Real quick, it's a great question because like it brings up like are we tapped in as spiritually as them? Like, do we have less spiritual power than them? Like what's that? Like what's why is there so much disparity between what they can do and what we can do now? It's a great question, DJ. Go ahead, Fortunato.
well, I mean, two parts because I think like I've always, said it from time to time. Like I think that for one, we have way more distractions on our side of the earth than some of these people or examples that we can draw on where we see like these people don't have like as much things to just like I was talking to someone today and I was saying like the parable like where the seeds get thrown on the ground, they rise up, but they're choked with the
Yeah,
cares of
choked, yeah.
life, pretty much.
Mm.
And it's like like we get wrapped up with like life and trying to like just get from point A to point B, where it's like we not focused on what we need to be
Yeah,
focused on for real. And
because
then
you gotta look. Oh, my bad.
what just to finish the point, because I know like y'all was saying too about like uh praying, I think praying, faith, having faith, and feeding the spirit, right? But I seen like this pastor said something to me and I'd never forget it. Well, he didn't say it to me directly, he was preaching. But he said something that I'd never forget it.
We're talking to you.
He was like, he said, if I remember it correctly, he said that like reading your word, getting into the word gets you on that ground level. And then when you start building a prayer life with God, that gets you into the elevator. But when you start worshiping for real, that gets you into the boardroom and,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
provides you a seat. And so, like, I think that's like really important because it's like, what do y'all, what does it mean to worship? Like, what does it mean to y'all to worship for real? Because I think DTH said it last week. Like, we were made to worship. So, if we were made to worship, then I would think that, strengthening the spiritual man has connotation links to worshiping. But what do y'all think like worship means like for real?
That's a good question. I'm gonna kind of do what my boy DJ did. I'm gonna ask a question with a question. So the Bible says man can't worship two things because we serve a jealous God. So I know you're not talking about that type of voice worship and singing and everything, but anything that we put ahead of ourselves, like in a short definition, anything that we put more attention on, whether it be a certain hobby, like some people like, working out, not to say that there's nothing wrong with working out, but you're thinking about what energy drink I'm gonna get, what protein, how I'm gonna lift this rep and all that stuff. You're putting that to the forefront before you're putting anything else, and that is a form of worship. So my definition of worship is anything that you're putting forward more than the next, and that we can't serve what is on earth and then serve God at the same time.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of switched up quick on me, man. I kind of wanted to stay on the spiritual thing. I was gonna bring a point up, but
What's
no,
the point?
I mean,
What's
I gotta hold it now.
the point?
But no, I mean, as far as worship is, it's just tapping into the power of God, man. It's deeper than the religion. You know, it's just finding. Yeah, it's finding the God within. I know the DTAs don't want to hear me say that, but just or wherever you find God, right? Wherever you find him. But I say finding the God within, man. And just spending time, man, you know, and just turning off the phone, turning off the entertainment, and just me getting into nature. Sometimes that helps, man. And I also touched on we kind of touched on this last week as far as you know setting the mood, perhaps having the right music set so you can get in touch with God. So that's worship to me, man.
So I know I wanted to touch on that video real quick that we was talking about the Aboriginal who was moving the water.
Yeah.
I've always heard something. Y'all probably heard that too. Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. So I'm not saying the brother didn't do it.
I was gonna ask y'all if y'all think it was real.
I
Yeah.
am a little
DTH, the conservative Republican.
That's gonna stick with me now. I would say I'm just a little skeptical because I mean
that's how you got view of videos today, though.
yeah, I mean, and it very well could be that he did it. But I mean, to that point, I think what you said, Fortunato, does explain though in general. Like we look at, people of the Bible who did fantastic feats, casting out devils and things like that, and we don't really hear about those things happening today. Not to say it's non-existent, but definitely it seems that there's been a decrease in the amount of times this is, really happening. And like you said, the distractions, man, I think it's just like kind of how if you look at the night sky, in most cities, in urban areas, you can't even see the stars, right? You have to cut out all the lights on the earth, or, a lot of them, right? So you can actually start seeing the stars. So it's kind of the same thing. They're clouding the source, really. So that's really the thing I see with it. But, let me not say that. But so as far as what was that? The other question? It was, what is worship, right?
Worship.
So I was just gonna say, I think Mike hit it pretty well, but it's just supposed to be in everything that you do. So really, you want to live a life that's pleasing to the Lord. Worship should be a part of everything that you do. So whether you're a garbage man or a CEO or an entrepreneur, it doesn't really matter what kind of avenue you decide to take in this life, because that's the thing too. We are here, obviously to spread the Great Commission, to spread the gospel, but we're also here to what's the word? Inherit the earth, fill the earth, inhabit the earth, right? So like, we're not just supposed to be here idle, but no matter what you choose to do, you should always involve God in it. So like, I think I mentioned Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Everyone knows that. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and let Him direct your paths, right? So there shouldn't be anything that you're doing that's not led by God, and I think that's really the essence of worship.
Yeah, nah. These boys pretty much hit it on the head. I like what DJ mentioned about his style of worship, because what I kind of wanted to bring up was that everyone kind of worships more or less in a different way, form. It has its baseline, what you kind of do, but everyone has a different form of worship and different way of showing adoration towards God. I mean, and I think we're gonna kind of hit on it. But another big point I wanted to bring about worship is that I think worship is one of those things where it kind of actually brings, like what we kind of been talking about this past like 2 weeks. It kind of brings them together a little bit for me. The religious aspect and the spiritual aspect that we've been kind of going for. I mean, just a quick definition of worship is just something I found was a matter of heart and spirit rooted in knowledge of and obedience in the revealed word of God. So I mean, it's to me, it kind of is like it's more like you kind of take a lot of the positive aspects from religious, a lot of the positive aspects from spirituality, you mix it together, and a lot of times you get worship. You get somebody who's given their whole heart, their whole spirit, their whole
I like that.
being into in it. Yeah, they're giving their whole being into a set of religious rites. They're getting their whole being into that into that aspect of life. And
Something
for us,
idolized.
just Christianity, yeah. So I mean, that's kind of how I saw it, or how I saw the question. So
Hey,
And
I just had one more question before we move too deep, man. As far as with this the spiritual is concerned, man. If that's all right, moderator.
go for it. Go for it.
Um, I mean, as y'all know, man, testosterone in well, studies show that testosterone in men is lower than it's ever been,
hmm,
right? It's lower than our grandfathers, man. And when you think of, when I think of guys that's spiritual, not just a brother that's in that video, but think of monks. I actually wrote down 8 different categories on how like monks reach their peace and their zen, and it's kind of crazy. Like, so they cut off 7 of 8 things, right? And it's the body, or they call it Adam, or a wife, they call it Jaya, or children, Sota. I might be saying that with a little Hispanic, you know what I'm saying? With a little
oh,
Hispanic
Nah,
wife
tongue.
rubbing off on you, wife rubbing off on
Man,
you. Okay,
don't roll the tongue.
And then you got Agar, which is house, Pusha, vehicles, uh, Dravina, which is money, and then Bandushu, which is acceptance from others, and Raji, which is control, right? So they cut off 7 of the 8. The only thing that they don't cut off is Adam, which is the body, and they don't cut that off because they're seeking they need their body to seek the spiritual benefits, right? So they can't cut that off. That's obvious. And these monks achieve crazy things like by them just diving in for real. And some of these guys never been with a female, you know what I'm saying? They just so deep into their belief system and just trying to achieve peace. Some of these guys, they train their body so vividly and so strongly that they literally can punch tree trunks with their fingers, like make indentments, man. So it's just very interesting the power that you can achieve when you dive into that. I don't want to say spiritual realm, but that's essentially kind of what they do. No, so I just wanted to touch on that point because I thought it was pretty interesting. And then of course that brings us to the point of that Aboriginal guy that was moving water, and I just find it very interesting that for whatever reason, um, those that doesn't really dive in that deep spiritually isn't able to achieve these kind of feats. So I just find it interesting, and I just kind of wanted to know, from you guys why y'all think that is. But
that's the thing. Like, that's what I'm getting at with like the worship. Like, you can't just like you gotta do. Like, you can't just
mm,
like you have to do. And it's like, even with the examples like with DJ's talking about, or even some of these other examples, like these guys, like they do. Like, they're not just sitting around talking about it. Like, they putting their body through it, they training their minds for it, whatever. And it's like on the Christian side of the fence, like we have like it says in the word, like when we get to that point, like we have the power to cast out demons, or you know what I'm saying, and stamp on serpents' heads, or accidentally drink poison and not be harmed from it and stuff like that. and
I heard about
and
that
so
one
it's
today.
like
Yeah,
we have the abilities to have dominion over some of these other powers, but it's like we don't do, bruh. And it's like, and even with worship, like I think it's important that you have to create an environment for worship. Just like how these other people, these pagan people, when they going in and they start conjuring up their spirits, like they create an environment. They don't just sit down and be like, all right, I'm finna call on Wakalulu. Like they'll do like whatever. I don't know Wakalulu, I just said that. But they'll do like whatever, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they have a whole like ceremony, whatever, and it's like we just expect that we'll put on some Tasha Cobbs and just love Jesus.
What's that exactly?
So what does that look like then? What is it that the church needs to do better? What do you think?
I mean, well, first of all, the words say that you once you go into your closet and pray, He rewards you openly. But I mean, just to tie it to an example, like last year, like, and I was having like these crazy migraines like every single day, to the point where like it was so bad to like my vision was blurring in my left eye a couple times, and I'm like, oh Lord. And then it was like daytime, morning time, it was just constant. And it was like no matter what I did, it wasn't like going away. And I'm like, one day I'm just like, Lord, like how Jacob said, I'm not gonna move until I went, in the closet. I created me a little atmosphere, got my little worship on with myself, and started praying. I'm like, Lord, I'm not moving until you do something. I cannot, like, I need you to show up right now. And it's like from that day, bro, like no kidding, like knock on wood, I haven't had a headache since. It's probably been like a year. And it's just like, but I think it's important though, like you have to create the environment for worship, but then you got to be serious about it too. Like you got to do like how DJ and how we've been talking about, like you can't just wait for it to fall out of the sky. So with that, like I wanted to ask y'all too, like if it can take just a grain of an equivalent of a mustard seed, right, to move a mountain, not like figuratively, like, oh, I have mountains in my lives, like no cop out, like to literally, the word says, like with a grain of mustard seed, you can tell this mountain to move, right? Or you can pronounce death on the fig tree and it'll wither up, right? But it's like all it is a grain of mustard seed of faith, like a little bit of faith. So with that in mind, do y'all think we have like faith for real? Because it's like if it takes just a small amount to do some like super,
then we don't have faith at all, right?
I mean, how much of a fraction? Like if how small the mustard seed is, so it's like how less of that should we have right now, or do y'all think we have? I mean, in regards to faith.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because it's an interesting point. Definitely, like that verse is very well known. You have faith as a mustard seed, you can move mountains. With that, I think it's interesting to note that as small as the seed is, the tree that grows from that is huge, right? So it's one of the biggest. It's probably not the biggest, but it's a huge tree that comes from that little seed, right? So that kind of shows that, because you're saying if it's just one little seed, that is all it takes. Well, really within that seed is everything that's needed to make this huge tree, right? So I think that's kind of what I think about when I think of that seed. Like, yeah, it's small, but it's not really the size of it that matters. It's what's inside of it. Just like how, I don't think she was named, but in the Bible, the widower, she gave a mite into the offering, and Jesus said, she gave more than all of these high rollers out here because she gave with her heart. And it really is true. Like she did give more because of it was more impactful. So I don't think the size, I think it just helps to paint a visual that it doesn't take much. But I mean, I don't know that we could say we have less faith. I don't even, sometimes I think, because I think of it like when you think of Revelation, right? Revelation is telling us what's going to happen, and in the future, the near future. So the way I think of it, it's like certain things have to come to pass. So I don't know that everybody is supposed to be performing these wonderful feats that some of these other people did in the past. Like I said, I don't think it's non-existent today. We just probably don't hear about it as much. But I don't know that everybody is supposed to be touching somebody and healing them right away. Like, I don't know if that's God's will, right? Like, yes, we have the capability, but if it's not God's will, the same way we can pray for someone to get healed, and we know God has the power to do it. But if they pass, like, God's will was done. So, I don't know that it's that we have less faith.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nah.
Oh.
Well, I'll tap in real quick. Just to tap in on that. I mean, the question is huge because it's like it kind of makes us think that that if we can't do these miracles that these people have done, then we have sort of a less type of faith, a less purpose. But the way I kind of see it too is like, what is some of the purpose that we want to do these miracles? Like, I feel like some people would, like, if they had the power to kind of do these miracles, they would do it, they would abuse it. Just to David's point, like, I'm not sure if everybody was meant to do these things. Sure, they could probably have the capability, like it says in the Bible, but I'm not sure everybody was meant to, or everybody should be able to, because I think it would it would also dilute that. I mean, everybody was doing these miracles by the power of God and all that, doing it that way, then it would dilute it. It wouldn't hold much significance. But to that point, to that point, we should be able to tap into these powers if as the Bible says, we will be able to, if we're truly tapped in. But to say that we're not doing it and that equates to a lack of faith, I don't know if that correlates. That's all.
Hold on, DJ. Before you jump in, I want to poke Levi real quick.
Poke
So
me.
you saying
Pause.
that if
Thank you.
everybody was able to perform miracles because they had like Christian believers, if all Christian believers who believe for real was able to perform miracles, that it would dilute what exactly?
It would dilute the effectiveness. I mean, if you just saw people doing these things and
You're
just
saying it's
random,
like a gift.
right,
Okay.
exactly, like a gift. If you just saw people
So
doing it, it would.
it would make God less valuable because
If he
everyone can.
if he allowed everybody
That's
to
almost
just.
like saying, like, if a whole bunch of people make it to New Jerusalem, well, New Jerusalem ain't gonna be super exclusive because it's all these people here. Like, is this really
That's
gold
not
for real? There's so many
that's
people in here. Like, I just don't.
that's not really what I'm
I'm
trying to say.
trying to understand.
No, I get you. I guess I'm more trying to say, like, it's supposed to be really special to be able to do this. Like, it's not just
I'm just messing with you.
anybody. I know. It's not just any old body that should be able to do these things. You got to be a really devoted, a really smart. And then, like, it begs that question. Of course, are we those divided people? Since I've never obviously laid hands on somebody and they immediately got well. That's never happened to me in my life. So,
But I mean, I think the thing is too, like, we got to understand, like, there's fruits of the spirit. Just like how a lot of West Indian people believe, like, oh, if you don't speak in tongues, like, you ain't, like, no, like, this is a gift, and everybody ain't gonna have the same gift. So if you don't have that particular gift, just identify the gift that you have, and you good. But you, like, I mean, to your point, everybody don't need it, because if everybody was, well, because on the day of Pentecost, everybody was speaking in tongues, and then the multitude came, and then everyone heard them in their own languages. So, I mean, I guess
That's true. That's a very special instance. But I mean, like you just said though, like it says to some were given teachers, to some were given apostles, to some, like everyone has different a different gift, a different purpose. So I guess the question is, does no one have the gift of laying hands and healing? Like, I don't think so. I just think we don't see it often, like in my church or your church, right? Like, but I don't think it's not existent. But I was gonna say also, I think we're in a very unique position because we haven't seen Jesus physically like these people did, right? Like, and even the Bible talks about how he did these miracles to help their belief. So like it does help to see magnificent feats done, because that's going to help firm up your faith. But the Bible does talk about us in that in John 20:29, Jesus told him, because you have seen me, you believed. He's talking to John here. And he said, blessed are those who have not seen and yet they still believe. Right? So when you think about it, I mean, based off of that, it sounds like our faith, and again, for those who are truly following, right, not just professing Christ in mouth, but actually doing deeds, we have faith because we haven't seen Jesus physically. Now, that's not to say, of course, he's not working in our lives and revealing himself to us, but they have actually, I think Levi said this a couple of weeks ago on another topic, like these people touched Jesus physically. Like they were there with him. They saw these things, we're reading about them. And obviously he's revealing himself to us and everything like that, working in us. But, we're in a different position than they are. So.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll say like, because the only time like I've seen, I don't know if DJ remember or not, he probably might've been, still on the bottle then, but I remember one time in New York, Mount Zion Church, like I think I told y'all this story before, how like these men was bringing in this girl, I guess, to get prayed for, and she was like possessed or whatever, and it took a few of these men to bring her up to the front, and they asked like if anybody's not strong enough, please exit the church, and most of the church walked out. And it's like but you don't really see that like anymore. And we don't have to go on this part, but it's a lot of things that's called mental health disorders these days that wasn't classified.
I was just about to say to that. You think there's stuff going on today that's really demonic influence that we're not recognizing it, or we're not categorizing it that way?
I mean, listen, like God gives us peace. So in the absence of peace, somebody else giving you something that ain't coming from God. But I wanted to ask y'all too, like not to prolong, but so in the essence of spirituality, right? We talked about like people burning sage and crystals and stuff like that, and even like to a certain extent, like tapping into familiar spirits. But like, do y'all believe on the flip side, like on the Christian side, that we may have like guardian angels or angels watching over us or something to that degree at all?
Absolutely. I think so. I think so. I think it could be.
Yeah, I definitely think. I definitely think there's angels walking the earth, not in the form we think, what I'm saying, with the wings. Just like when Brother Eric's on the pod, he was talking about the lady that was on the sidewalk. He was like, he never seen this lady ever again. And she pretty much told him exactly what his dreams were. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I definitely think that there's some beings walking this earth that is blending right in. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, so that's my take on it.
Well, that's not what I asked, brother. I said, do you believe that you may have guardian angels or angels who watch over you?
I mean, I wouldn't say. Yeah, I mean, I would say yeah. I mean, of course, God is the number one, but I'm sure he got some soldiers out here. You know what I'm saying, making sure his plan, is played out, because y'all can kind of see how y'all want to see it. This would kind of dip back onto the free will thing, but at the end of the day, is whatever God is trying to have done. You'll see these miracles of a plane crashing, and what I'm saying, somebody crawl up out the airplane, which is crazy, but that basically God said, hey, look, I'm gonna need this one right here for, what I'm saying, for my next plan, for my next season. So yes.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, y'all ain't seen the movie Angels in the Outfield? There's angels in there.
Andy, you know what?
Movie, man.
You know what?
All right. Real talk. I think.
I was just gonna say real quick. I was thinking of the Preacher's Wife with Denzel.
Big fact. That's what I was thinking of. Big fact.
But I think
Whitney, man, they gone too soon, Whitney. Oh
Yeah,
my
Yeah.
bad.
that's a different.
Yeah, I think God assigns angels to us. Yo, if as far as I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, angels don't come in the form as humans. Um, they look different. You know what I'm saying? And God has these, as my boy DJ said, they're out there to protect us. You know what I'm saying? If there's a journey that's set out for us, and things happen, you know, they're there to step in the gap of like if an accident happens, or they're there to defer things so it prolongs and helps out what God has planned for us. So I 100% think that there's angels out there for us.
Angels in
Yeah,
the outfield.
That's right. It was a
no,
good movie, man.
that is a
Yeah,
good
that's a good
movie.
movie.
But I'm gonna say I'm gonna agree as well. I think there definitely is beings of light, God's agents that He sends, to protect us, because there is definitely beings of darkness that are sent to harm us, that are sent to defeat us. The Bible talks about spiritual wickedness in high places, and we're not fighting against people, we're fighting against principalities and powers. That's really what our battle is. And I think definitely there's definitely um agents from God who definitely sends to protect people on a daily basis, for sure.
Hmm.
I mean, just an example, when Jesus Christ is in the garden, he brought up the point, like, hey, I could bring 12 legions of angels right now to come and protect me, and take all y'all out right now. But I'm not going to do all that because there's a plan to fulfill. So I definitely believe there's beings that God can appoint to protect you, for sure.
Let me tap in real quick before you jump in. I was just gonna say, I think I don't know in the sense like this one angel is assigned to you from birth,
Right.
like that kind of thing. Uh, I don't think there's any biblical evidence for something like that. But you know, to my knowledge, there's at least two types of angels, right? There's cherubim and there's seraphim, right? So the cherubim, for those who are not aware, right, like these are the worshiping angels. That's what they do day and night. Their whole lives, they just worship God at His throne. Though, that's just what they do. That's their purpose, just worship. And then the seraphim, these are angels like we've read about Michael, the archangel, right? Gabriel.
Gabriel.
These are the warrior angels. So they, like Levi's talking about, fighting, other spirits. There's stuff going on that they're doing out there, right? Like they're doing battle with these other spirits, and they're doing missions, right? Like they're not solely just at the throne of God worshiping. They're doing things. So I think certainly they have tasks where they're sent to take care of us, or take care of people, and certainly walk among us. Like in the Bible, there's a verse for that, right? Like it says, be careful to um, basically treat people right,
Treat
because
strangers, because they
yeah,
might be
because
angels in human
it,
form, basically.
exactly. So that definitely happens. I know I've heard stories from people. They tell me they're very certain that they just encountered an angel. My father has told me a story about them in New York back in the day, in a really tough spot. Um, I've heard other people talk about encounters they've had too. So definitely they're here. You probably never know for sure. You wouldn't. It's not like they're gonna, like DJ said, show their wings to you or nothing like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, they here, man. They definitely have a purpose.
Yeah, I
If you
mean,
go
and
in,
even with some of the accounts that we've seen, like in the Bible, like God will give them jobs to do, like to go and deliver a message to so and so, or like
Mhm.
so they definitely like be having jobs to do, and I wonder like I mean, and I guess we won't have to get into it, but I wonder like how just some of these people who do all these things and they conjure up these familiar spirits. Like I wonder if there's a way that you could tap into for having an angel come amongst you. But I don't know. Well, we won't go into that, I guess, right now. But I wanted to ask y'all though, why y'all think like there's so many accounts of people experiencing evil spirits from like movies to shows in real life versus experiences with angels?
You
yo,
know,
remember when we were younger and we went and saw that movie, The Omen?
No, I don't, because I
Y'all went and saw that because I didn't see that mess.
Man,
So all of them back in the day.
I remember Mike said he saw red in the backyard, right?
Yo.
I remember you said that.
Oh no,
that movie specifically sticks on the color red. I mean, if y'all want to watch it, but I think it's what we entertain, man. Like for real, because if you out here entertaining and calling upon certain things, what you call upon will answer. You know what I'm saying? So it's where you put your mind and you put your attention to.
Yeah, just real quick on that. I mean, I have a rule. Like, I don't watch that. I don't watch them exorcism and Emily Rose's things. I don't. If you're talking about a horror movie, it's got to be like it's got to be like the
Jason
Boogeyman
X.
or something.
Right.
Yeah. It's got to be the Boogeyman.
It's got to be
something like
Ghostbusters.
that. Well, hey,
Wow.
exactly. Because if you're talking about people getting possessed and stuff like that, hey, that stuff is real. That stuff happens. I'm not trying to mess with that. I'm not trying to invite that stuff. I'm not trying to have that stuff say, hey, you remember me from the movie? Like, no, I don't need none of that. Like,
hey, you gotta keep those spirits clear, clean and clear and under control, bro.
What the Jamaicans say?
DJ, he don't do no scary movies. This ain't just how it's part of it.
Yeah. But you know what the Jamaicans say? Don't you know who for frightened? So
Don't you know who fit fright?
No, my mother would tell me when she was a nurse, right, back in the hospice when she would work. You know, it's older folks, a lot of people who were on their, last moments, and I don't know if it was multiple times. She told me one specific time though, there was somebody, who was older and they were on the bed and they were just talking to her like they were like being tormented, is what they said. It's like they're on the walls and they're, stuff, and it was just like, that was pretty crazy. So I think, because you asked, like, why does it happen? Why do you think we see more of that in movies and like even in real life, people talking about these kind of things? And I just think too many people they're not where they need to be. You know what I mean? Spiritually, they haven't given their life to Christ. And if you don't, there's going to be consequences. And so,
you gotta look at it too. Like all these movies, it's always based on true stuff, man. True encounters, true. Whatever movie you thinking of is based on something true. Even The Matrix, I'm sure that's based off of some true stuff, man. So
even Hustle with Juancho Hernan Gomez.
I gotta watch that anyway.
I love that movie right now. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize.
But nah, man, you got to be tapped into clean spirits, man, and like what Mike said, man, the thing is too, man. I remember I was working this job, and this was when I was on call. Matter of fact, I think me and D was roommates at that time, man. Those were times I had to go run out and do a job. Oh, don't miss them days, man. But I remember it was probably like Wednesday night, Thursday night, and I came up to this house, and it was like super dark, and I was like, my spirit just wasn't feeling right, man. Something just wasn't right about this house. But I'm like, God, you know what I'm saying? I got to do it. It's a job, right? So I come up out the truck, and then this lady was just sitting in the dark. Literally, I couldn't even see her. She just, hello. I was like, hey, you had water damage in your house? So now I'm stuttering and buttering. I'm like, man, I do not want to go in this house, man. Some tell me don't go in here. But luckily for me, it wasn't too bad. But her daughter was super creepy. She was super creepy. So I was a wham bam, thank you, man. I got up out of Dodge and I told Buddy, because I was covering someone in that area. I said, hey, it's your job, homie. Handle that. And then the next day he told me, he said, dude, that job you sent me, man, the lady, she locked me in the room. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, I went to go do something in the room and she locked me in. And I was like, hello? I'm knocking on the door. Hello? He said, dude, I'm freaked out. I was like, how you got out? And then, we end up, we got distracted. So he ain't tell me how he got out or whatever. But I was just like, man, you just never, especially like with service jobs, I still do it to this day, going in and out of people's house. So, man, you get your spirit got to be tapped in, man, and locked in, man. Because you don't. It's Satan's out there loose, man, trying to see who he can.
So y'all think like Christians, like true believers. I hate using the word Christian. But y'all think like true
Oh, we
believers
don't
of
have to have a
God,
heart about that. Okay.
Yeah,
y'all
no,
think
I agree.
y'all think like true believers like can be possessed?
by an evil spirit.
Yeah.
No, impossible. You can't have good and evil dwelling in the
Mm.
same place. It's impossible. So if you possessed by an evil spirit, then you ain't had the spirit of God. You're not a, you know what I'm saying, as you say, true believer. It's impossible.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
agree with that. Not at the same time, right? Like because I know a pod a couple of weeks ago I brought up the fact that there's a verse that says if people have tasted the heavenly gift
Heavenly
and they've
gift.
done all these things and they fall away, whatever. So like you could be, and then later on you're not, but not at the same time. I don't see how that could be.
Yeah, ain't no squares in my circle, man. It's you
I
gotta
like
be
that.
one or the other. So at the end of the day, I agree. You can't have both.
Oh yeah, I mean
So,
that's an easy one. The well can't bring forth fresh and bitter water at the same time.
That's true.
so
Now
how do
that's not
y'all
to
like
say.
record? Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say that's not to say that true believers can't make mistakes, right? Because I don't want anyone to come away thinking you can't do no wrong if you're a true believer or something, right? But I mean, what you describe, being possessed, that's a whole other level. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah. Nah, I mean, cause I was even thinking like the enemy will try you now. He'll put you on your butt, but I don't think like if you feel for real like you can't. It's like you can get pushed to the point of like Job, because you see Job went through everything,
Hmm.
but his mental wasn't took over like the man who was in the mountains cutting himself every night and crying, and you know what I'm saying. Like he wasn't like off of that. So it's like yeah, like I mean we might get tried sometimes, but like that's why I say how it go. I can't remember, but it's like after you've done all you can, just say something like that. It's like
Yeah, I mean,
you're gonna
That's a song,
yeah,
man.
it's like you gonna get tried, but as long as your mind is right and secure, and like you said, you got no squares in
Greater
your
is
circle.
He that's in me than me.
I
Yeah.
Exactly.
was just about to bring up the seed
So
point. I was gonna say, like, even if to be possessed is like 100%. But even if you have a faith of that little mustard seed, it's gonna give you that strength to
Hmm.
fight that. So
Oh
it's
yeah. Oh yeah.
like how do y'all recognize spiritual warfare and how do you combat it?
I
Hey, every day, boy. every day is a battle, man. To get up out of, because you can't just be in the house as a Kermit. You got to be out there in the streets. Doing what you got to do, handling business, man. So every day is a spiritual warfare. Trying not to cuss nobody out when they cut you off.
hmm.
You know what I'm saying? All sorts of things that's happening out there, because you get tested in different ways. You ain't gonna get tested just one way. Devil's gonna try different ways. He gonna try to hit you with an uppercut, then he gonna hit you with a side hook. Then he might do a drop kick on you. So you'll never really know which way he gonna come with it. So that's why I say, like, it's every day is trying to, keep what they say, keep your armor on. The armor of battle. Keep the battle armor on, man. So hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, I would say I think it starts in the mind, man, because we're talking spiritual warfare. It's gonna be you having different thoughts, feeling like the path you're on is wrong, and having different thoughts like maybe this sin that I'm doing is really not so bad. Like these are things where your mind is like having issues, and I think that's the warfare part. So that's the stuff you have to fend off against, because it can be tough. Like certainly Satan's trying to kill us, right? Like our lives, but if he can get your soul, your heart,
Yeah,
because really he wants you to disobey
he's after
God.
your
That's
mind.
that's
Yeah,
the thing. So
yeah.
I think that's how it shows up.
Yeah, nah, it's definitely a mental struggle. It's definitely something that you have to fight through, and it brings the question that you have to fortify. I said it earlier. You gotta do stuff to combat that. And once you feel yourself being once you feel yourself being attacked in certain ways, you're gonna have that helmet of salvation. You gotta have that breastplate of righteousness. And once you feel those things being attacked, being poked at, for a lack of better terms, but yeah. So you'll feel it. You'll know when the devil's coming at you if you tapped in. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. I'm just gonna echo y'all. There's war out in these streets. Stay prayed up. Stay in the word. You know what I mean? Like, stay on your knees, because it's difficult out there for anybody. You know, we all have our own struggles. You know, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, you know, it's a struggle, and that's not what God wants us. So, any form of spiritual warfare that attacks you, you gotta like rebuke it right there, because it can grow bigger. It can grow bigger into a fungus, and that's not what you want.
Yeah.
True. And in the same regard, man, just understanding and remembering that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and spiritual powers in high places, wickedness in high places. So sometimes that person who's grinding your gears, it's not that person, it's the thing behind them, within them that is trying to provoke you. So as it's been said, man, it's important that you have something in you and not on you. Just like when you move into a new place, I always advocate, like, you move into a new spot, like, have that place anointed, and like Jesus to come in, because you don't know who was living there before you. You don't know what kind of spiritual connections might have been.
That's mandatory. That's mandatory.
So on the topic of religion versus spirituality, man, stay prayed up, stay looking for that higher power, stay in balance, because as we've already reiterated, too much of one side or the other is not a good thing. And in all things, man, just try to do something, keep God focused and first, man, and everything will work how you need it to. This has been the Hold Your Point podcast. We are the Hold Your Point podcast crew. And don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, man, Spotify, Apple, wherever you see us at, man. Make sure you tap in. Until next time, we out of here.